Yeah, perfect. Everyone here?
Hey, Mike.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Here we go. Who's representing the administration? Director Costello? Director Costello, you representing the administration?
I can, but Mayor Cooney's on his way in, and I know that he's going to have a report for you this evening as well.
Hey, okay, he's there. Hello, Mayor.
You can't hear you yet. Okay.
Good evening, everybody.
Mayor. Quick question for Sarah. Sarah, did you respond to my email reference to the questions that were submitted to you?
I did. I spoke with the resident today, and we have, I have a pretty good understanding of the concerns that she has. So, you know, if you want, I can start by discussing those. Or if you want, I can read the correspondence directly. How would you like me to proceed?
That'd be fine. Mayor, you ready for discussion?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sarah, you want to pose the questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll preface this by saying that I had spent some time on the community Facebook page, on my own Facebook page, and even talking to residents in my ward about how they felt about expanding the patio. And I'm actually kind of impressed. One of our residents sent me an email today, and she covered almost every question that was brought up when I was talking about it or on Facebook, or even really things that I was thinking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go kind of line by line through her email and just ask questions and see if we can come to an agreement as to how this will impact the city. So the first question is, if a temporary patio expands into a business's parking lot, how close to the current structure do they need to be set up temporary seating? There's a difference to someone who abuts a parking lot in both noise level and people smoking if it's near the building, or if it sets it up in the back of a parking lot rarely used. Do we have a thought for that?
Mayor, do you want to respond?
Well, it's a lot of this will be on a case-by-case basis, based on people's layouts and you know, and connection to the building. So some places it may make sense to be closer to a building, and some places it makes sense to be a little further away. So there's no determinative answer one way or the other. I mean, we do want to, because of the different layouts, we do have to look at everything, as individually as it comes in. I think the Walt's on the commissioner, building commissioner Walt's on the line. You know, he might be able to address that a little more specifically as it relates to a code situation. Walt, you're muted.
Not anymore. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
The Ohio Building Code references locations of buildings. Each one's going to be individual as far as the codes go. Proximity to building, are they putting up a structure? That's why one of our requirements is the site plan with the equipment plan, just so we can see how it would affect each individual. One's going to be different.
So then the second question would be, what percentage of their space would they be allowed to expand? For instance, if someone is expanding into their lot to make up a large amount of their business space lost, those spaces will now have patrons parking on streets or trying to park at other businesses. I know that most of our restaurants and bars have very small parking lots. What is the potential impact to parking on the street, traffic problems, potential for ambulances, police, fire, whoever to not be able to get through? Have we given consideration to parking issues?
Well, we have considered that. There's going to be a lack of capacity in some of these restaurants due to the restrictions that are in place. So, parking needs may not be as great as normal. You know, I know there's been some times in the past we've encouraged other businesses to reach out to their neighbors to try to come up with some joint parking agreements. You know, obviously, people are not going to be permitted to park in restricted areas as it may impact safety vehicles or other just regular forms of traffic. So the parking restrictions would, obviously, we're not going to change those to accommodate any type of expansion. But, you know, you know, taking spots away, there might be, you know, people may have to walk a little further or park a little further away. You know, so that might be, you know, closer to residences than it is in the past. I believe that's a zoning issue, Walt, the parking spaces.
Yeah, the parking spaces, required parking spaces is configured by bar seats, bar stools, tables, or square footage, any number of which would require the most. With reduced occupancy, the parking spaces that they'd be losing, and again, we have no idea what their configurations would be to even know what parking spots they'd be losing. Once we get the drawing, once we get an idea of what they want to do, we can maybe mediate that as well. You know, a number of the businesses in Fairview do share parking with neighboring businesses with their full capacity. They're still parking on the street. They're still, you know, parking legally in most cases. But I mean, that would definitely be up to our safety services to prevent them from doing that illegally.
Chief, you have any comment on that?
Bill, we did not hear that.
On the parking situation?
One more time, please.
I'm asking the chief if he has any comment on the parking.
You're a
You
little
hear me?
broken up, I think. Bill, is that Bill asking
Bill.
the question?
Are you asking me, Eric Upperman?
Yeah. Yeah, chief,
Okay,
asking the chief, you have any comment about the parking problem?
I don't think it's going to be an issue, even if they expand their parking with the social distancing. As Walt was saying, as I understand it, there's so many spots needed per seat. Their seats are going to be way down, even with the expansion from what they normally were anyways. So and it isn't like we're going to let people park in illegal spots. So they have to park legally in a parking spot. Yes, they'll lose a couple spots if they expand into their parking area on their site, if they have any on-site parking. Some of them don't, and all their parking is on the street. So with the reduced capacity, even with the expansion, they should be all right, and not really any more cars than would have been if it was running at normal capacity.
Thank you.
So then the next question is, when expanding, what are the requirements for marking it off? Is it just a covering, rope, taped off area, temporary fencing? How will we be designating where these temporary patios are, both for public safety issues in terms of if a car is pulling in and out of the parking lot, and then also just as you're walking down the sidewalk, you would be able to tell where are these patios? What would the makeup be?
Again, that would be part of their site plan. We'll leave it up to them to design it. I'm not going to design it. I don't think our administration, I don't think our council would like to design it for them. It's going to be best for their best use, their best interest. But with some of the requirements we've put into place, is a suitable barricade. We have some rules. Liquor board has some rules. You know, as far as fencing, as far as that, our suitable barricades, we'd have to. Each one's going to be individual. It's going to be, is it blocking an entrance to a parking lot? Would we have to maybe put some planters or even some highway, you know, caissons or something at the entrance to keep vehicles from coming in and, you know, injuring our diners? There's a number of, there's too many ifs if we don't have a site plan to see how we can do that. They could bring me one, you know, tomorrow And, after we review it and Chief Upperman and Chief Rafter review it with me right off the bat, we may have to rearrange something based on, entrances and exits. There's building code, like I said, there's National Electric Code, there's fire code, and there's our police. All these things have to click in there for this to work out correctly. And it's going to be a case by case. If there's only one entrance in, they can't block it. I mean, it's very simple. There's going to be delivery services they're going to need. There's going to be emergency services they're going to need. That we have to look at each one individually.
So then one of the last questions regarded time. I know in our exhibit, we say temporary patio shall only be permitted to operate during normal business hours and may not operate between 9 p.m. and 7:30 a.m. Has the administration given any thought to how we would police that? In that, what does that 9 p.m. look like? If you're seated there at 9 p.m., they kick you out, or they're not allowed to seat you there after 9 p.m., in which case you could spend the rest of the evening there. How do we see that being policed?
Well, the intention of this was to help with their restaurant, restaurant capacities and serving food. So, somebody is seated and they're in the middle of a meal at 9 o'clock. I don't think we would force them to leave. I mean, that's not the intention, but we don't want it to remain open, as someone nibbles on some appetizers till 2 in the morning. So the intention is to assist with meals. 9 o'clock, we thought that was a reasonable hour. Most people don't eat much past 9 o'clock. We would ask that things be taken down or closed down after that point in time, and if not, there's a violation of that or some sort of noise complaint, then it would be responded to.
And what exactly, is there a number of nuisances that would end with having their temporary status revoked?
Well, one of the important things we felt was that we have the discretion on issuing these and revoking it. In the event that people don't do what they're supposed to, if they submit a site plan to the building commissioner and then they change it and it affects people's health or safety, we want to have the ability to revoke it. If the police chief advises us that there's problems of a serious or an ongoing nature, it can be revoked. If the fire chief advises us that there's some safety concerns, then it can be revoked. So we don't have a set schedule or of violations. I think it would really be, if there's a serious violation, if we're of the opinion that it's a serious health or safety violation, then it's revoked. If it's some minor, seem to be, and I'm minor, if there's noise problems, but they're of a consistent nature, and we've explained to them that things need to stop. You need to, let your patrons know, or you need to maybe change, the volume of your music, things of that nature, and it doesn't happen, then things would be, then the permit or approval would be revoked. So we don't have anything specific outlined, but it's our discretion to allow it and also to cease it if they don't do what they're supposed to.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to Denise for sending all these questions in, and thank you, Councilman Minnick, for giving me an opportunity to ask them.
I'm gonna ask our directors, chiefs, if they have any comments. Go first.
Excuse me, Bill, was that me?
Mary Kay, you wanna go?
Okay, thank you. We appreciate this opportunity to extend an ability to meet their existing capacity. I think that's a great message to send to our community, that we're not asking to increase capacity, but to allow restaurants as a business to maintain their capacity prior to the shutdown and in response to the COVID-19. So I really appreciate the time, the great questions. Building Commissioner Maynard, both Chief Raffin and Chief Upperman, and the mayor taking this time to take the requirements serious, set up these businesses for success, and set the community up for success. So I really appreciate everyone's thoughtful time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, do you have anything additional?
Yes, well, I'd like to reiterate what Director Costello said. This was really a team effort. Director Costello and Monica, they came to to me and talked about maybe doing something like this. We roundtabled it a lot with Commissioner Maynard, Chief Raffin, Chief Upperman, Law Director Riley. He was involved in it as well. So it was a collaboration. We some thought of there was some differences of opinion in order to get to where we were. And all of it just, again, as Mary Kay mentioned, with the thought behind allowing our local businesses the opportunity to, to be at a level where they normally would be, but also most importantly that things are safe from a public standpoint, from a healthy standpoint. And so I think we got there, and then that will be our goal going forward. Again, we want the people who are patronizing these establishments to be safe, their employees to be safe, and the public to be safe. So that's our what we've been looking at. That's what we talked about, and going forward, that'll be our emphasis. I'm
Was
sorry.
that for me?
Is that for me or for Walt?
Law Director Riley.
Oh, Tim. Sorry.
Tim, any comment? Liz, can you hear this okay?
Tim, you're muted.
I'm muted?
No, Tim is.
Tim.
I have nothing additional at this time.
Okay.
What's the suspense on that? Thanks. Good job, Tim.
Okay, Commissioner Maynard, did you have anything?
No, Councilman, I think we follow these codes here, and expect our businesses to be good neighbors. I think that this will work.
Thank you. Chief Upperman, anything?
From a police standpoint, we don't have anything to do with like the serving of food and requirements other than an area spelled out where people are allowed to drink. So as long as that's spelled out properly and nobody is going outside of that area to drink, then we're good as long as we know what that is. They're in the normal case, like say Bonnie's where they have an outdoor patio, their current one has to be a permanent structure that keeps it locked in and you can't exit the bar from that patio so that you can't walk out with the drink. So they'll have to have something so that people cannot just freely go in and out and have drinks. The other issue, as some of the questions that Sarah had asked, will pertain to noise. And noise is going to fall under our 557 section of the city ordinances, and we have a little bit of teeth there. But I mean, they actually, it's no different than what Bonnie's has now, or Dominic Santos has now, or what Gunzelman's has now. In their area where they're at a certain time, they have to stop any amplified sound transmission, whether, if they were doing it, I would hope they're not going to do it, but like karaoke outside, or if they're playing music for the area of the patio, or if they're showing some type of a TV show or something like a fight or a football game, or baseball game, if those things come back on, there's a certain time frame, and then we can step in and stop that stuff if it becomes an issue. But it's all going to be complaint driven as far as noise ordinances go. There's the absolute cutoff at 11 o'clock where you can't make noise. That's the disturbing the peace ordinance. And then under our 557 section, there's, depending on what it is, there are different times, and it's also based on what the zone of the city, how it's, if it's zoned business or if it's zoned residential. But there is kind of a catch-all in there that basically says operating or permitting the operation of any business if such operation causes a noise disturbance across a residential real property boundary or in a public space. So if it is a little bit before the normal time where that particular type of noise would be restricted and it would be technically legal, but if it does cause a disturbance and somebody calls and we feel that it's unreasonable, then we can shut it down and or cite.
Thank you. Chief Raffin, any comment?
No, I would just reiterate what Commissioner Maynard said, in that the temporary approval doesn't necessarily make the codes temporary. So we just have to make sure that we stick to the codes that are going to need to be applied, whether it's a building code or a fire code or whatever the case might be. But as written, the ordinance as written with the Exhibit A being the temporary approval and those bullet points, I think it looks fine.
Thank you. My colleagues, any comments?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Bridge.
Is this only for establishments that sell food and beverages, or could retail establishments apply for this, or like a workout establishment to have yoga outside or things like that?
It was our intention just for dining establishments.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Any additional comments?
Yeah, Bill, one of the things I know we address, where the borders are and whatnot. I think we need to make it very clear to the restaurants and bars that the parking lot area, should people be eating there, that, come 9 o'clock, they might then focus just on the restaurant and the patio that's attached and forget to really do a thorough cleaning job, where things like French fries or pieces of the hamburgers or spilled pops could end up on the parking lots and then unfortunately attract rodents and, more bugs. That would be more of a concern for the, neighboring properties. So I think we need to make sure when we talk to them that too is that at the end of the evening, they not only clean their establishment, but get out in the parking lots and make sure there's nothing that could attract, any kind of animals.
I believe that's one of the 14 requirements that is going to be discussed with the administration.
Okay.
Correct, Mayor?
Yes, it is. And I mean, thanks for bringing that up. And that is one of those points earlier, a question about, if there are violations, what'll be handled. And, the message that we will let people know is that you are responsible, as Walt said earlier, of being a good neighbor. So that means, from a noise standpoint, from keeping your property clean, tidy, and obviously if you're not doing that and you're attracting rodents, then that's going to be a problem that, better be addressed quickly, or, we could revoke the permit.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
I think it sounds like a good plan. Good work on the due diligence, and seems like it's well thought out.
And each application will be submitted on its own merits, correct, Mayor?
That's correct. They'll be submitted to the building commissioner. He'll consult from, he's obviously familiar with the building code. He'll consult with Chief Raffin to the extent he needs to with respect to the fire code. If there's any other questions or concerns, he'll let us know. But, again, the big thing here we feel is, the number one thing we feel has to be emphasized to anybody submitting this is that it has to be safe. As Tony said, the building and the fire code are not temporary, they're permanent. And there's a reason for that. And so anybody who submits a plan, they need to keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does any member of council have a problem with passing this on emergency? I'll introduce as emergency legislation this evening. Any additional comments?
Well-ran committee meeting.
Thank you for attending.
And I think it's just what we'll do is when we do get a request, and if it's in, we could send it to the particular council person, so that they know of this request, and or we can send it to council as a whole. We'll get the request, and then once we've made a decision, we'll let council know if that's. I don't know what your preference is. If you want to do it by ward, or if you want council as a whole to be aware of it.
Probably send it to all of us. I'm sure we'll get questions probably either way.
Okay, well, we'll send you that so that people are aware of, and we'll send you the final approval because there's a chance that there will be some back and forth with the building commissioner or the fire chief or might be some other concerns. So once we do have the final site plan and the approval, we'll send that out to you as well. And I don't know if it was mentioned specifically here, but if there is alcohol being served, the Division of Liquor Control also has to sign off on that site plan as well.
I have two questions, Mayor. First question is, how many businesses have shown an interest in this proposal?
I'm aware of two. I don't know if I know I've spoken to, I don't know if I've actually spoke to them, but I've heard from Gunzelman's, and then also we've heard from Sauce Pizza. They actually, when they applied for the micro grant, it was approved by council, and one of the things that they intended to use with those funds was to expand their outdoor eating area. I'm not sure if I haven't heard from anybody else. I'm not sure if Mary Kay or Monica has heard from anybody else.
The second question is, as I emailed you about 2 weeks ago, Westgate Shopping Center, all the food and establishments there, that's going to be a little touchy situation there.
Yeah, I think it will be. Their building manager reached out to Walt today about a situation there. We were going to let the management company know about this legislation. I'm not sure if it will change their opinion as to how they want to handle this. I think it's more of a contractual situation with the management company, or the owner, I should say, with its tenants. I think there also is some liability concerns. I think Walt was explaining to me a lot of these spaces in front of these establishments are not actually rented by the tenant, it's the common areas. And so that would expose the owner to potential liability. So, it's in the criteria. Any approval requires the landlord's consent. So if a landlord is not going to consent, then we're not going to allow the expansion.
Thank you. Okay, there's no additional comments. I'm going to close the Environmental Public Works Planning Zoning Development Committee. Thank you.
Hey, Bill?
Mike?
You want to take a vote to pass that this evening?
Okay. I'll introduce a motion to place this resolution on emergency passage this evening. Bridget? Brian?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Green?
Yes.
Or Sarah? Sarah?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for all those questions as
Thank you.
well. And I know that some of you had reached out to, to Tony and Walt and maybe Mary Kay, Ms. Monica. So I appreciate your interest and your, and the questions as well. It helped us kind of formulate what we have here for you. Thank you.
Just keep us in the loop.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks, Bill. So I know we had a committee last week. Does anyone have any board or commission reports?
No.
Yeah, the rec commission met last week, so we just talked a little bit about the plan that is coming for the opening of the Gemini Center in the fields that Mary Cooney sent out last week. And then we also reviewed the Thomas Lane parcel again. So the revised plans for that. Nothing too major, just some differences of some benches in the path and things like that that I'm sure we'll go over at a later date too. So
Thanks, Brad.
that was it. Mhm.
Thank you. Are there any other boards and commission reports?
Mike.
Okay, Brian, do you have anything for the roundtable?
No.
No. William?
No.
Maureen?
No, I do not.
Sarah?
I do not.
Bridget?
No, not tonight.
Greg?
No.
Liz? Mayor, do you have anything else you want to add to our committee meeting this evening?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, then we'll just slide right over into our caucus session. Did everyone get a chance to look at the we don't have any minutes for this. Do we have minutes to approve? Liz?
Good.
Do we have?
I
Do we
said
have
no,
minutes?
remember I have to install the disc.
I got it. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, I have to install the disc for my transcription thing again. My computer basically had to be gutted and reinstalled, and that was not installed yet. So I have to reinstall that, and then I can have this for the next meeting.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You mentioned that to me. Okay. All right. Okay, so Bridget, you're going to do a finance committee report tonight?
Yep.
And Bill, you're going to do the special committee report this evening? Okay, then Bill, you have an ordinance for first read?
Yes.
Okay. And Bridget, you have an ordinance for second read? No, you have an ordinance. for resolutions.
Yep.
Okay. Liz, have you received any audience input on legislation that is up for passage this evening?
No, other than the one that Sarah spoke on, there was nothing else received. So.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, Bill, then you'll have the temporary outdoor patio seating for final passage.
Yes.
And then Bridget, you have legislation on third and final passage.
Correct.
No heck. All right, so we're all set as far as legislation goes. All right. We can adjourn the study session. No one has anything else.
See you at 7 o'clock.
See you at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Hey, Liz,
Yes.
under miscellaneous reports, do I have to make an issue or a motion to remove the solid waste and budget? Or do I just,
Yes. Under the second time around, when you guys give your reports, that's when you would do that.
and I have to make a motion?
Correct.
Okay,
Two separate ones.
Okay. Monica, are you still on here?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, Monica.
Yeah, I'm here.
It's Bridget. I wanted to know, did you hear back from anyone about the letter that was sent out?
I heard back from a Miss Bamerlin so far, but no one else. I think people probably got the letters on Saturday, but most likely they got them today, and I'm sure some will get them tomorrow.
If you don't hear back from people, maybe Friday, you can let me know, and I could go door to door to the ones you haven't heard back from.
Okay. Yeah, I spoke to Councilman Berger about it too, and he's been talking to some people who he knows live in the area as well. So I really appreciate the effort that you guys are putting, helping us get these last few signatures. So
Of course.
yeah, much appreciated.
I appreciate it.
All right, no problem.
I just exited because I couldn't.
Oh, you didn't have to do that. You can mute your.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't find it though.
So that went really, really smooth. I took a couple notes. Did you want me to do anything with them, like make a checklist for Walt or anything about their concerns that we could, when we send that back to the checklist of items?
Hold on.
You just think about that.
Hello, Monica. Yeah, that's probably good.
Okay.
Yeah, he's well done.
Okay.
They're still live.
I thought it
Oh,
was,
we're still talking?
They're still live.
Got it. Thank you.
thanks, Walt.
There we are. Okay.
Councilman Minnick. Oh, can't hear you, Councilman.
Yes, go ahead, Walt.
That was the 3400 Glen Bar. What that Deborah, her name's or last name is how? Do you know her age?
No,
Do you know if Regina's had any contact with her or anything in the past?
no, I went to talk to her one time and she wouldn't answer the door.
Deborah Krupa. I talked to her through the door last year once or twice. Matt Kiley had a number of conversations with her through a door, through a window. She was living in Avon Lake. Her husband died. She was renting that house to like a daughter-in-law or son-in-law. That was a couple years ago. They tore the house up and they had some dogs. Like I have not been inside that house in probably 7 years since it was a rental. I mean, the outside does need some help, and I think our service department's on their schedule for one of the first ones when they have some time to do it. But I mean, as far as we could keep an eye on it a little bit, but that's not a major thoroughfare for us to get from Center Ridge even to Lorraine or anything. So that's one thing I will rely on you to help me out with that one. If it starts getting big again, it's not going to look good when we're done with it either this time, because it's 3 foot tall in some places, especially where that sewer was done. I'm sure Kevin's guys will take a little extra time on it, but we're still going to kind of keep an eye on it. I appreciate it. As far as if Regina could get involved, or she has that Solera, that red Solera convertible. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. Like when it's there, I'll try knocking, but I've never been able to actually get her to talk to me again. So
You received my last email?
yeah, I did.
I
just didn't know what else we could do as far as our city could help with. I don't know if Regina would be part of it or not.
Okay, because even the neighbors, she don't talk to the neighbors. We have some issues there. We have to do something because God only knows what's inside that house.
No, I understand. I'm not. That's why I wonder if Regina or a social worker or adult protective services or somebody could help us out there. I really have no cause for that, and I don't believe our fire or our police do either, unless somebody called in a welfare check, to actually get inside.
Yes.
There's no reason for me to get inside an owner occupied house unless there was immediate danger.
Well, my concern would be, why is not the property owner taking care of the property? There has to be a reason.
That reason I haven't heard from her. She was not last year after her husband passed away. She moved back in from Avon Lake. She may have been going through like a little mini depression or something, but I'm not a clinical psychologist either. I'm a building commissioner, but there was definitely some, she did have some issues or some concerns with people who were helping her. Now, last year, we only cut that one time. She had somebody cut it the rest of the season. We cut it early, just like this first week of June last year. I don't know who cut it the rest of the season, but we didn't have to.
Well, that's true, the staff's in there also, so.
Bill, I didn't get that last.
Prosecutor Costell sent her a letter.
Yeah, we sent her a letter. That was for some of the outside stuff. And we did I got confirmation today that Rocky River Community Court is hearing some cases, or they're picking up some local warrants because we had an owner on 220 in today to make some plead to some minor misdemeanors. So I do know that, and that may be our next step as far as I'll speak with him on that to see what the outcome was of the hearing, and we'll go from there on that one.
Good.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
And Liz, is that okay to talk to him like this instead of calling him later or emailing him?
I'm sorry, say
Email's
that again.
fine.
Is it, I just want to make sure it's okay. We can talk like this, like normal people sitting around a table.
Are you gonna contact Regina?
I may contact her just to see if she's got any rate, on her radar, but there's nothing that I can do without a social worker getting involved. And I'm not familiar with what the status is or the staffing levels over there are either.
You read my last email reference to the two males that came there from the hospice, I believe.
They must have just had a tummy ache. They had the flu.
Right. That's why I say that there's something, in fact, that sewer construction from 5 years ago has not changed. And Glenbar is a thoroughfare now because it's a shortcut from Center Ridge Road to the south side of Fairview Park. And there's no parking on the west side of the street from 8 to 4, just for that same fact that the traffic is on the street.
No, they're still parking over Red Robin and walking over to the bus stop.
They're also parking on Southwood and walking to the bus stop. We got to keep up on that property. Liz, can you hear me okay?
That sounds better.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
But I found where the mics are, so. Hello, hello.
Hey, there we go.
Much better, Councilman.
Oh, thank you, sir. I know, too loud and too often.
Everybody ready?
Hmm?
Do we have everyone back?
No, no, Maureen.
No Maureen? All right, it's 7:01. We'll give her a minute. There's Maureen.
All right.
Mike McKay. All right. The regular meeting of council, of the city of Fairview Park, Monday, June the 1st, 2020 is now called to order. A moment of silent reflection. The clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Simmerly,
Here.
Mr. Minnick,
Here,
Mrs. Adler,
Here.
Mr. Cobain,
Here.
Mrs. Waring,
Here.
Mrs. King,
Here.
Mr. Berger.
Present.
Okay, we'll start with this evening's committee reports. Finance Committee, Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. The Finance Committee met via video conference on May 20th, 2020 at 7:02 p.m. In attendance were members of council, Mayor Cooney, Director Single, Director Costello, and Building Commissioner Maynard, and members of the community. Ordinance 2021 authorizing acceptance and administration of the 2020 NOPEC Energized Community Grant was discussed. A question was raised if there was a project to match the monies being received, and Mayor Cooney said that we're still looking at a few options. A motion to place this on third read and final passage was made and passed with a vote 7-0. Ordinance 2023 increasing expenditure to the Auditor of State for the 2019 fiscal year audit. Director Single explained why this was needed due to our acceptance and the use of grants and federal money in 2019. A motion was made to place this on second and subsequent third read, and it was passed with a vote 7-0. Resolution 2007, the Alternative Tax Budget 2021. Director Single answered a few questions about why we have this resolution and how the county needs this to determine rates that we will receive in 2021. A motion was made to move this to second read and remain in committee, and that was passed with a vote 7-0. Resolution 2008, the application and agreements for Rocky River wastewater treatment plant final clarifier rehab project. There were no more questions raised about this resolution, and a motion was made to move this to second and subsequent third read, and it was passed with the vote 7-0. The Finance Committee ended at 7:13 p.m. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We'll now have Local Government and Community Services, I'm sorry, Environment, Public Works, Planning and Zoning, Councilman Minnick.
Thank you, Council President. The Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning, Development Committee met this day, June 1st, 2020 at 6 p.m. Discuss a draft resolution establishing temporary outdoor patio dining areas. Participating in the discussion were Mayor Cooney, Public Service Development Director Costello, Police Chief Upperman, Fire Chief Raffin, Building Commissioner Maynard, Law Director Riley, members of council. Many questions were asked and answered. Business, any application will be addressed by the administration to see if they comply with the 14 posted guidelines. Motion to place this resolution emergency passage this evening was approved 7-0. The meeting adjourned at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. Okay, we'll now begin our legislative agenda for the evening with legislation for first reading. Back to you, Councilman Minnick.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to place an ordinance before council for first reading.
Will the clerk please assign a number and read the title?
Ordinance 2024, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilman Minnick, co-sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the city of Fairview Park to reimburse the Rocky River wastewater treatment plant for the installation of sewer meters for study and analysis and declaring an emergency.
All right, thank you. Ordinance 2024 is placed on first reading and assigned to the Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning, and Development Committee. Okay, we will now have legislation for second reading. King.
Council President, I would like to place one ordinance and two resolutions before council for second reading.
Thank you. Would the clerk please read the titles?
Ordinance 2023, requested by Finance Director Greg Single, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to engage the Ohio Auditor of State to provide additional services as part of the 2019 fiscal year audit and declaring an emergency. Resolution 2007, originated by the Finance Department, requested by Mayor Patrick Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman King. A resolution adopting the alternative tax budget of the city of Fairview Park, state of Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2021, and submitting the same to the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer and declaring an emergency. Resolution 2008, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilman Minnick. A resolution requesting that the city of Rocky River apply for financial assistance from the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund Program for the funding of the Rocky River Wastewater Treatment Plant Final Clarifier Rehabilitation Project and declaring an emergency.
All right, thank you. Ordinance 2023 and Resolution 2008 are both placed on second reading and subsequent third reading. Resolution 2007 is placed on second reading and returned to the Finance Committee. Okay, does the clerk have any emails or any that she knows of, any audience input, or is there any audience input by anyone that's on the Zoom call with us?
The only
legislation that's up for passage this evening.
right, the legislation is up for passage, so I don't know if Sarah or somebody wanted to speak on that, just to say what happened or where it stands.
Sure, I can speak. So we did receive a written communication from a member of the community discussing the temporary outdoor dining patio ordinance, and it was thoroughly discussed during tonight's special committee meeting. There were a multitude of questions regarding quiet times and how the patio will be segregated and how parking will be addressed. And I think we thoroughly discussed and got answers to those items. But she ultimately, when I spoke with her today, was not against the ordinance. She was for the ordinance. She just had additional questions as to how it might be implemented. It might affect her as a resident very close to a business that may or may not expand.
Councilman Waring, could you state the name and address of the individual who submitted the question?
Oh boy, I sure hope so. 1 second. Yes, Denise Paul, 22410 Fairlawn Circle.
All right, thanks very much, Councilwoman Waring. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll now have legislation that is up for passage without three readings. Councilman Minnick.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to place a resolution before council for emergency passage.
Okay, would the clerk please assign a number and read the title?
Resolution 2009, requested by Mayor Patrick Cooney, sponsored by Council President Kilbane and Councilman Minnick. Co-sponsored by Council members Simmerly, Adler, Waring, and King and Berger. A resolution establishing temporary outdoor patio dining areas and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Minnick.
Thank you. Move to the third provision in Rule 49, requiring that the legislation be read at three-step readings and suspended, and that be placed before council for emergency passage.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Simmerly.
Yes.
Mr. Minnick.
Yes.
Mrs. Adler.
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane.
Yes.
Mrs. Waring.
Yes.
Mrs. King.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Councilman Minnick.
Thank you. I move that Rule 53, requiring reference to committee, be dispensed with, and Resolution 20-09 be placed on final passage.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Simmerly.
Yes.
Mr. Minnick.
Yes.
Mrs. Adler.
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane.
Yes.
Mrs. Waring.
Yes.
Mrs. King.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Prior to call for passage of resolution 2009, is there any, or I'm sorry, I'll put my glasses on. Resolution 2009, is there any further discussion?
Council President.
Councilman
Council
Minnick? Councilman Minnick?
Thank you. At this time, I would like to thank the mayor, his administration, police chief, the fire chief, building commissioner, our council president, and my colleagues for their assistance and support in providing this legislation to our food businesses in our fine city. Let us hope that our businesses take advantage of this offer, the attempt to recover some of their financial loss during this COVID-19 crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. Is there any other comments? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of resolution 2009?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Resolution 2009 passes. Councilwoman King?
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place an ordinance 2021 up for third read and final passage.
Will the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 2021, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance accepting the 2020 Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council Energized Community Grant to provide financial assistance for energy efficiency projects or energy infrastructure improvements, and authorizing the city administration to file all documents and execute all agreements necessary to receive any awarded grant funds, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2021, is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2021?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 2021 passes. And that concludes our legislative agenda for this evening. You'll now have reports of communications from the mayor and his directors. Mayor Cooney, if you're ready.
Thank you, Council President Cobain. I wanted to let everyone know that we are continuing to deliver meals to seniors 60 or older. We're currently delivering about 100 meals packets once a week, every Wednesday morning. Those packets contain 3 frozen meals, some fruit and milk. So if you know of people who are interested, are having difficulty shopping or have financial need, there's not really the only requirement being somebody has to be 60 or their spouse be 60 years old. But if people know of individuals or couples who have an interest, just have them reach out to us here at City Hall. At this time, there is no plan to open a senior center due to concerns about congregate eating and congregate gathering. And additionally, the governor has not authorized the reopening of senior centers. The building department has been busy reviewing permit applications, inspecting properties, responding to inquiries from residents, council, and the administration about people questions or concerns. I'd like to thank Commissioner Maynard. I see that he's on the call here for his hard work, and for Leanne and my career's work as well. They've been working really hard, and I appreciate that. The service department has been busy getting our parks ready for the summer. They're also working on road repairs and maintain our sewers and other matters, infrastructure needs. They lately have been wrapping up some work at the Gemini Center that will allow us to open here in the near future. And I really appreciate all their efforts that they've have done at the Gemini Center, getting working on repairs and maintenance there, but also the work that they've been doing the last few weeks and working throughout the city. Speaking of our recreation department, the Gemini Center is set to open on Monday, June 15th. That would be the second floor of the fitness center that will be open. We recently sent out an announcement about the hours. The hours are slightly reduced. In the beginning, the facility, the fitness center, will be open for members 15 years and older. There will be a time Monday through Friday where residents, or I'm sorry, members 60 or older, for those who have medical issues, will have, they'll be the only ones who have access to the second floor. That'll be between 9 and 11:30. Again, Monday through Friday. The purpose of a phased opening is to see how things operate, see the demand, see how we handle the demand. We're looking at other, other parts of the facility to open up as time goes on. Currently, there are restrictions on basketball taking place, so the gymnasium is not going to be open. In the first phase, we're also looking at, there's a lot of restrictions on the pools, and we're looking at those to make sure that when we do open that, it's safe for the residents, the members, and our employees. And then as time goes on, we'll be looking at adding certain types of programming. Again, being able to have social distance in place so that people are safe, looking at other maybe places that are around the Gemini Center to conduct some of these classes or programming. Starting today, probably right about now, there's the high school football team is conducting training at the high school field and track. The Ohio State High School Athletic Association has relaxed its training requirements, allowing teams to practice beginning June 1st through the summer. I believe that's likely because of the delays that were experienced in the spring. So there will be high school teams practicing throughout the week and on the weekends. I've been in communication with Superintendent Wagner, Athletic Director Joe Giannetti, about their needs and their requirements and what they're going to do. And it's going to be, again, pursuant to the protocols put in place by the governor and as well as the Ohio High School Athletic Association. And because there'll be smaller amounts of people training, or kids training, we've decided to keep the track open while those things were going to be taking place. And we just ask that everybody be considerate of, people's time and space there and then at the Gemini Center as well when that reopens. When we get closer to reopening, the fitness center will be in contact with all of you to share with you the protocols and the layouts of the facility. This past weekend, 2 of our web units, the SWAT and crowd control units, were deployed to assist the Cleveland Police Department downtown. We're fortunate to have the regional collaboration that we do with the West Shore Enforcement Bureau police departments. They've trained for these type of events before with respect to the RNC and for other events. At one point, we had I believe nine officers from the department downtown. They were people who were called in for overtime. I was in communication with some of the local mayors as well as Chief Upperman about our staffing this weekend and their deployment. And so, I appreciate again the collaboration that we have with our West Shore police departments to assist. When needed, there's a mutual aid agreement between the West Shore Enforcement Bureau and the Cleveland Police Department. So when mutual aid is needed, we respond. They would respond in the event that we would need their aid. We have not needed Cleveland Police Department's aid in the past, but we have used their facilities to train. Finally, I know there's a lot of pain and suffering going on here in our country this last weekend and beyond. Obviously, in order for us to heal as a community, we have to work together. We have to listen to each other. We have to respect each other in order to address the injustices and problems that we have in our country. I know we're very fortunate here in Fairview Park. We have a very caring community, and that our residents help our neighbors when they are in need. We have a need now where we again need to work together in order to make our country, our community, our city a better place. So I look forward to doing that with all of you. And I know our residents, as they always have, will be helping each other. So thank you, Council President, and best wishes to everybody that they stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Director of Public Service and Development, Costello.
Thank you, Council President. This week we'll be issuing a letter to residents on West 213th regarding their upcoming water main replacement that is scheduled to begin June 15th. And we look forward to these improved infrastructure project, and it will include paving and some street repairs, curbs, and of course, a new water main service. So if there are any questions about that, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Finance Director Single. Going once. Is Greg?
Chairman, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. A couple items tonight. The Regional Income Tax Agency has processed the May advance for the city of Fairview Park. The mayor and I were looking at it earlier today. I have a few questions that I contacted Rita to get some answers on. Haven't heard back from them yet. So as soon as I do hear back from Rita, we will share the information with City Council. The audit continues. We're still working through it. As soon as we can let the auditors back in City Hall, they will be back on site probably for a week or two to finalize their field work and then work towards wrapping up the audit. And that's all I have tonight. Everybody stay safe. See you soon.
Thank you, Director. Law Director Riley.
Thank you. Just one item tonight. There's been some questions about when we can go back to regular meetings. As of right now, the order still stands that you cannot have a gathering of more than 10 people. So therefore, we have to continue. And that is in effect until July 1 as of right now. I don't know if it will be extended. So as of right now, we need to continue with these type of meetings just because in the event we would have more than 10 people in one place. Even if you social distance, it's still not allowed. So I just wanted to clear that up, and that is all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thanks for the update, Director. City Engineer McKay.
Thank you, Council President Cobain. I only have one item to report tonight. We're currently working on the plans and specifications for the resurfacing and repair West 210th Street. And that's going to be a 2021 project. We will keep you informed of our progress on that. And please, everybody stay safe and have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
It's time for the public session. Do we have any residents on this call that would like to say something to council or the administration this evening? All right, Chief Upperman, did you want to say something this evening? You're still with us?
Yes, I'm here. I had been requested by Councilwoman King to be here. I don't know if she wants to preface this.
Yeah, well, Chief, I asked you to be here because I received a couple questions from residents about training that our Fairview Park Police Department would go through to how they would de-escalate any situation that they should come upon. And it was just kind of in reference to the incidents going around in cities all over the country right now.
Do you have specific questions, or do you just want me to give an overview?
I just would like a quick overview, just so the residents know how that have been trained, and the police department continually receives training on how to de-escalate without violence.
I'll start out just by saying that, I mean, we obviously have policies just like every police department does. Our use of force policy stresses using the least amount of force possible, only what's necessary to gain control of a situation. It stresses the use of verbal communication in all cases, and the degree of force has to be reduced or abated in a degree upon establishing control and when risk of harm no longer exists. So that's our policy, where all our training and stuff is based off of the specific part. We have a very low incidence of use of force. Most of ours ends at what we call escort techniques, where somebody doesn't want to get into a car or doesn't want to leave when we ask them to leave, where we grab their limbs and kind of escort them out if they're unwilling. Hopefully it doesn't escalate into any type of further force. Any injury to offenders here has been minimal. Our officers have been taking a lot of abuse over the last several years, and in front of council, I have brought up some things, and the council people that have come to our award ceremony have seen our officers have been spit on. They've been spit right in their mouth. They've been bitten. They've been headbutted, had broken noses, and things like that. And even with all that stuff going on, our officers have never retaliated in force for, because of something that occurred to them. They're very professional. They're very good at their job, and they control the situations. In 2006, we added tasers to our arsenal of non-lethal force in order to have an intermediate use of force between hands-on and lethal force. So that was just another tool to go along with our expandable batons that are used for intermediate levels. As far as training goes, all of our officers meet all the requirements of OPATA, or the Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy, as set forth in their basic academy. A large number of our officers have been hired after the changes, but in 2016, de-escalation had become part of our training. And all officers that had graduated from the academy, the police academy, prior to 2016, then had to take this, we call it Cpt, or continuing professional training, pertaining to de-escalation techniques and also the constitutional use of force training. In that same year, we also instituted a new use of force platform for the hands-on stuff. It's called FMS, or the Force Management System, which is based on all grabbing, holding, gaining control, and not striking unless it really becomes a bad situation. So all our officers are trained in that, and we usually do updated training twice a year in that on a shift level. We have 4 officers on our department that have been trained as use of force instructors or defensive tactics instructors, and they do that. And while doing that, they also utilize de-escalation training during the course of it. In 2017, another training requirement came into play from OPATA, and it was called the Practical Application of Force Training. Every one of our officers has been trained in that also. And again, those that were hired after 2017 or went into the academy after 2017 had to do that as a continued professional training, but it was added on to the basic curriculum at any police academy. As I mentioned, our force management system twice yearly, hands-on and scenario-based training, which includes verbalization, de-escalation in some of the scenarios. Also, the web cities back in 2014 went in together from our web budget, and we bought a training simulator, a TI training simulator. Currently, it's housed at Bay Village. Our officers every year, when we do our qualifications for firearms, are put through several scenarios. It's a scenario-based training system. It reacts to the actions of the participants. So when you have an officer, he has special equipment, a gun, a taser, expandable baton, flashlights that react, and the video actually reacts to the operator of it. We have 3 of our officers are trained to be operators of the system, and they will input things. If somebody does something right, then it would make the video situation reflect what they did right. If they did something wrong, it might escalate. So the real important thing with de-escalation is you can talk about it all that you want, but without actually doing something, it's hard to see what the effectiveness is, or without verbalizing and doing this stuff, it's just like reading a book. It doesn't mean that you're an expert or can do it. So this type of training, the real life scenario-based training, allows them to use their verbalization, use techniques that they've picked up, and try to get things toned down to a certain point. So along with that, web also back in, let me see here, 2016 also, they went into a CIT program, Crisis Intervention Team program. And what that is, a lot of things that escalate have to do with mental health issues, people high on drugs or alcohol, developmentally disabled people, autistic people, etc. So our officers, 5 of our officers have been certified. It's a week-long training program. They get a pin, a graduation, and everything. And they specialize in handling these type of situations with people. And we try to keep them spaced out amongst the shifts so that we have 1 or 2 CIT officers on each shift. So that had been done. And the only other thing in your question there, you had also asked about body cams. We do not have body cams. Back in 2014, 15, when the big push was, we didn't really have money for it, but our officers have always maintained the highest professionalism, and our officers are believed by both the citizenry and the judiciary. When they testify in court, we have had no instances of anyone, testifying wrongly, or that their testimony is questioned when they do things, because we vet them quite well beforehand. The best way to get good people is to make sure that you overturn every rock and you really go into their background beforehand. We have quite an exhaustive pre-hire process, and my officers, I would put them against any officers anywhere in the country. I mean, we have had people literally come up to the police station for no other reason than to come up, and even though they got arrested by an officer, they have complimented them on their professionalism and that they didn't belittle them or make them feel bad even after they got arrested. So these people, who should be angry at the police, or maybe not rightfully so, but oftentimes some people are, and they're coming up to tell us, hey, your officer was very well-spoken. He didn't make me feel like a piece of dirt when he spoke to me. He treated me respectfully, and I have nothing but good things to say. And we have letters from people have done this on multiple occasions with the officers that we have. The tenor of our department is such that none of our officers would stand for someone intentionally using more force than necessary or to fail in their care and control duties. Care and control duties are those that once we take somebody into custody, we're responsible for them now. All right, we're responsible to make sure if they need medical attention, if they have some underlying medical condition, that they're fed, they're treated with dignity, and all of our people take these duties very seriously, and we have no issues with that at all. If you had any other questions, if I didn't address your questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Upperman, for this. And I really appreciate the information, and I'm grateful for you and all of the Fairview Park Police Department for keeping us safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thanks, Councilwoman King, for asking these important questions. And thank you, Chief Upperman, for getting them to us. Do we have anyone else online that would like to say anything during public session? Or? All right, we will go to miscellaneous business and reports by council members. Councilman Simmerly.
Sure, thank you. Last week, the Rec Commission met to discuss the reopening of the Gemini Center. So just wanted to thank Mayor Cooney and Mary Long for the work they've put into that. I know it's probably not easy to do, but I'm glad you're taking the safety of all the residents first. And then also just want to thank Dr. Casella for answering a lot of my questions over the past couple of weeks. It's been very helpful, and I know the residents appreciate it as well. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Minnick.
I was a Fairview Park police officer during the Huff riots, and thankful that last weekend did not escalate. And I wholeheartedly agree with Chief Upperman's comments, and I support the best department in the West. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. Councilwoman Adler.
Yeah, I want to thank Mayor Cooney and Councilman Minnick and others for putting the resolution together to help our Fairview bars and restaurants just have a little more opportunity to catch up on their lost finances. And hopefully, all the questions that were addressed, particularly the time taken by Ms. Hall to make sure we did cover everything, that it all does go smoothly. And also to thank Chief Upperman for sharing the information. It sounds like other cities should be looking to Fairview Park on how to train and do checks on their officers. I feel, good to hear about the extensive time and training and efforts that you do put forth to make sure that nothing but professionalism is maintained by our officers. And it's a shame, when a few bad apples, can unfortunately taint a profession that needs to be much more respected. And unfortunately, it's some of the police officers themselves that aren't respecting their profession. But it sounds as if our officers, I'm very grateful for the work that you are doing and all the efforts that you are putting forth. So thank you, Chief Upperman, and all the other police officers.
Thank you, Councilwoman Adler.
Councilwoman Waring.
I have no report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I have a couple of things. First of all, I would like everyone to know that this Friday is the senior showcase for the Fairview High School class of 2020. The seniors will be driven around from the high school down West 213th, down to campus to 210, then south on Mastic 20, up to Hillsdale, back to 213, and end at the high school. So spectators are encouraged to go out, but remaining in proper social distancing, and to go out and to celebrate the senior class. And then I would like to make two motions tonight. The first motion is to remove the issue of solid waste from the Finance Committee.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
What were we talking about with the solid waste? Was that, didn't that already get taken off once?
It was taken off, we voted in committee, but I never officially did it through council.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I thought we already voted on this once. Okay.
Just in committee.
Bless you. Is there any
Coun-
further, is there any further discussion?
Yes, Council President?
Yes, Councilwoman Waring.
Councilwoman King, I was curious, with removing this, do you plan to reopen the conversation in the fall as we begin looking at additional services for the following year?
100% I am, yes.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to remove?
Mr. Simmerly. Mr. Simmerly. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. The issue is removed from committee.
Thank you. I would
King?
Sorry. I would like to make another motion to remove the budget discussion from the Finance Committee
Which budget, I'm sorry, which budget discussion was that?
for 2020.
The budget discussion.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to remove?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. The topic is removed. Councilwoman King, anything else?
That's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Berger?
The only thing is in reference to the email that went out about the possibility of pursuing a sound barrier over by 480 in Ward 5. And I know a lot of people that live in that neighborhood really want a sound barrier, and they've wanted it for a very long time. So when Monica originally sent the email out, my first thought was to go around and knock on some doors and talk to everybody about getting a little bit more communal support in regards to pursuing that to satisfy ODOT's requirement. Because of the pandemic, I decided not to do that. I didn't know if going door to door would be such a good idea with that going on. So what I did was called all the families that I knew in that neighborhood. I wound up speaking with 4 of them just to try to drum up some activity on this. And they were going to reach out to their neighbors regarding the people that did not respond to the initial inquiry of the petitions. So I guess long story short, if you know anybody in that neighborhood, it's like Sycamore, 229, Maple, all those ones over by 480. I would suggest reaching out to them and let them know that the city is pursuing trying to get a sound barrier over there. So that's all.
Yeah.
Council President, if I may.
Mayor
follow up
Cooney.
on that. Thank you, sir. We could send out, I know we copied, I believe, Council President Kilbane, Councilman Berger and Councilwoman King on this correspondence, and the people that we've asked to sign the petition. What we'll do is we'll send it to the rest of council. And if they know, like Councilman Berger suggested it, if they could reach out. I know Councilwoman King has talked to Monica as well about some of the people that she knows. So we'll send that to everybody. If you know some of the people on the list, we need a few more signatures to move it along. And I appreciate Monica's efforts in doing that, and your help, with everybody's help as well. Thank you.
If I remember correctly, I think we've gone through this petition process for that sound barrier a while in the past. Is that right, Bill?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Past is in the past.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what came of it, but.
Yeah, actually, a lot of the people that I talked to referenced when it happened last time in all the meetings and everything that was supposed to come of it, and nothing did. They were talking about when, a state rep was up here and there were all these meetings and they were talking about using land rather than a wall. But now I think a big part of it is the technology has changed. The walls are different now. The barrier technology is much better than what it used to be. Obviously, nothing's inexpensive. But I feel good about it. And Monica is fantastic in all the work she does. She's very organized. It makes it very easy to navigate and try to get as much activity going with that as well. So I have high hopes for it.
What about the south side of?
No, it's for the north side. There was I can't remember the details on it, but it had something to do with structures built before 1980. So like Lennox is over there, but that was built after 1980. So that had something to do with it. I don't know the details why, but it's basically going to be north side of 480 from North Olmsted to 220, which those are the most affected neighborhoods, I think. Some of those, if you're in the backyard, I mean, you could hear it. Doesn't matter what time of day it is. It's much needed there, much needed.
Thank you.
All right, I'd just like to go back to what the mayor said about, these being very trying times for our citizens and citizens around the country, our county times. And I would just like to wish, our citizens, the citizens of Fairview Park and Cuyahoga County, health and safety, our first responders, our healthcare workers. I mean, it's been a trying few months, and hopefully better times are on the way. If there's nothing more, the chair will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Council is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Take care.